The night sky over Masyaf, Syria, erupted in fire and fury. On a Sunday, under the cover of darkness, airstrikes ripped through a facility long suspected of housing a dark secret, Syria's chemical weapons program. The explosions, visible for miles, shook the town to its core. A plume of smoke and debris rose into the night sky, a grim beacon signaling the destruction that had been unleashed. The target was no ordinary military installation. It was the Scientific Research Studies Center, a complex long shrouded in secrecy and suspected by Western intelligence agencies of being a linchpin in Syria's chemical weapons program. The morning sun revealed the devastating aftermath of the attack. Twisted metal, shattered concrete, and smoldering debris littered the landscape where the CRS facility once stood. Rescue workers frantically searched for survivors, their efforts hampered by the scale of the destruction. The human cost of the attack was staggering. Syrian state media, tightly controlled by the government, reported at least 18 dead and 37 injured. However, independent sources, including the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, painted a grimmer picture, suggesting a far higher death toll. The strikes had not only hit their intended target, but had also caused significant damage to surrounding residential areas, adding to the civilian casualties. The airstrikes on Masyaf were not an isolated incident. They were the latest chapter in a long and troubling history of allegations against the Syrian government regarding the use and production of chemical weapons. Western governments, citing intelligence reports and satellite imagery, have long accused Syria of maintaining a clandestine chemical weapons program in defiance of international law. The CRS facility, in particular, has been repeatedly flagged by Western intelligence agencies as a key site for the development and production of these deadly weapons. While no nation has formally claimed responsibility for the airstrikes, all eyes turn to Israel. The Jewish state has a long history of conducting targeted strikes against Iranian assets and allies in Syria, often under a veil of strategic ambiguity. These attacks, Israel argues, are necessary to prevent Iran from establishing a permanent military presence on its border, and to thwart the transfer of advanced weapons to Hezbollah, its proxy in Lebanon. Israel's official silence on the Masyaf strikes, while predictable, did little to quell speculation about its role. Section 5. Regional shockwaves. Syria, Iran, and the world react to the airstrikes. The recent airstrikes have sent ripples of tension and uncertainty across the globe, affecting not just the immediate region, but also the broader international community. The airstrikes sent shockwaves through the region and beyond. The immediate aftermath saw cities plunged into chaos, with sirens blaring and citizens scrambling for safety. The images of explosions lighting up the night sky were broadcast worldwide, leaving a lasting impression on viewers everywhere. Syria, reeling from years of civil war, condemned the attacks as a flagrant violation of its sovereignty and a dangerous escalation of tensions. The government issued a stern statement calling the airstrikes an act of aggression that would only deepen the humanitarian crisis in the country. Protests erupted in various cities, with citizens voicing their anger and frustration over the continued violence. Iran, a staunch ally of the Syrian government and a key player in the region, echoed these condemnations, vowing a crushing response to any aggression against its interests. Iranian officials held a press conference where they emphasized their commitment to defending their allies and maintaining regional stability. The military paraded through the streets, showcasing their readiness to respond to any threats. The international community, already grappling with the complexities of the Syrian conflict, expressed deep concern over the strikes. Leaders from various countries called for calm and urged all parties to avoid further escalation. Analysts in news studios around the world debated the potential repercussions, highlighting the delicate balance of power in the region. The United Nations called for restraint from all parties, urging a de-escalation of tensions and a return to dialogue. The UN Secretary-General issued a statement, emphasizing the need for diplomatic solutions and the importance of protecting civilian lives. Diplomatic discussions at the United Nations continued, with representatives from various countries working tirelessly to find a path to peace. Section 6. Damascus denies, Syria rejects allegations and condemns the attacks. The Syrian government, through its state-run media outlets, vehemently denied any involvement in the production or use of chemical weapons. Damascus dismissed the allegations as baseless and fabricated, accusing the West of using them as a pretext to attack Syria and undermine its sovereignty. The targeted facility, Syria claimed, was not involved in any illicit activities and was purely a scientific research center. The airstrikes, according to Damascus, were a clear act of aggression and a violation of international law. Section 7. Voices from the Rubble eyewitness accounts paint a picture of terror and destruction. Amidst the diplomatic posturing and the fog of war, the voices of those caught in the crossfire emerged, painting a harrowing picture of the night of the attacks. The stories they shared were not just accounts of destruction, but vivid recollections of the fear and confusion that gripped them. Residents of Masyaf, still reeling from the shock of the explosions, described scenes of chaos and terror. They recounted how the tranquility of their evening was shattered in an instant, replaced by a nightmare of fire and smoke. They spoke of the earth shaking, of windows shattering, and of the sheer force of the blast that left their homes in ruins. The suddenness of the attack left many in a state of disbelief, struggling to comprehend the devastation around them, and of a deafening roar that seemed to split the night. The explosions were so powerful that they could be heard miles away, a testament to the sheer scale of the assault. Many had lost loved ones, their grief palpable as they recounted the moments of horror. The pain of losing family members was compounded by the destruction of their homes, places filled with memories now turned to rubble, their homes reduced to rubble. The once vibrant community now lay in ruins, with remnants of daily life scattered amidst the debris. Personal belongings, once cherished, now lay broken and buried. Their stories, raw and unfiltered, served as a stark reminder of the human cost of the ongoing conflict in Syria. These accounts highlighted the resilience of the survivors, their determination to rebuild and find hope amidst the ruins. The voices from Masyaf are a powerful testament to the enduring spirit of those who have faced unimaginable hardship. Section 8. Iran's shadow looms. The role of Tehran and its proxies in the Syrian conflict. Iran's presence in Syria, while officially framed as support for a beleaguered ally, has been a source of growing concern for Israel and its Western allies. Tehran has invested heavily in propping up the Syrian government, both militarily and economically, and has deployed its own forces and allied militias to fight alongside Syrian troops. This presence, critics argue, has emboldened the Syrian government and fueled the ongoing conflict. Section 9. The Syrian Chemical Weapons Program, a timeline of accusations, denials, and international investigations. The allegations of chemical weapons used by the Syrian government date back to the early years of the civil war. These accusations have been a point of contention and have drawn significant international attention and condemnation. In 2013, a horrific chemical attack in the Ghouta suburbs of Damascus, which killed hundreds of civilians, shocked the world and sparked international outrage. The images of the aftermath, with victims suffering from the effects of toxic chemicals, were broadcast globally, leading to widespread condemnation and calls for action. The attack prompted a rare moment of unity in the UN Security Council, which passed a resolution demanding that Syria dismantle its chemical weapons program. This resolution was seen as a critical step towards addressing the use of such weapons in the conflict and ensuring accountability. While Syria agreed to surrender its declared chemical weapons stockpiles, doubts have persisted about the completeness of its declaration and its willingness to fully abandon these weapons. Experts and international observers have continued to express concerns over the potential for undeclared stockpiles and the possibility of future use. The international community remains vigilant, with ongoing investigations and monitoring to ensure compliance and to prevent further atrocities. The process of dismantling Syria's chemical weapons has been complex and fraught with challenges. International inspectors have faced numerous obstacles, including security risks and limited access to certain sites. Despite these challenges, significant progress has been made in reducing the threat posed by these weapons. However, the situation remains fluid, and the international community continues to call for transparency and cooperation from the Syrian government to ensure a complete and verifiable end to its chemical weapons program. Section 10. The global response. Condemnation and calls for restraint follow the airstrikes. The airstrikes on Masyaf drew condemnation from many corners of the globe. The United Nations, while not explicitly assigning blame, called for an independent investigation into the attacks and urged all parties to exercise restraint. The European Union expressed grave concern over the strikes and called for a de-escalation of tensions. The United States, while stopping short of directly accusing Israel, reiterated its condemnation of the use of chemical weapons and its commitment to holding those responsible accountable. Section 11. The unstable future. Airstrikes deepen regional tensions and raise fears of escalation. The airstrikes on Masyaf have injected a dangerous new element of uncertainty into an already volatile region. The attacks, regardless of who carried them out, have heightened tensions between Israel and Iran, raising fears of a wider conflict. The risk of miscalculation is high, and the potential consequences are dire. The international community faces the daunting task of navigating these treacherous waters, seeking to prevent an already devastating conflict from spiraling further out of control.